Hello, welcome to Linus Literature Library. We are on chapter 15 and 16 of Redemption Road, written by Elma. Yes, a book written to document the trauma or emotions and psychological impacts that the 1980 to 1990 civil war in Liberia, the impact it caused on victims and the people around. This is just something about a few people that wanted to share their experiences, even though it's fictional, but most of it is non-fictional, because the events really happened. Civil war really happened, and Elma tried her best to document what some victims went through and wanted to share. She was also a victim, Joe. Now, in chapter 15, quickly, when Kelvin left, Bendu goes back inside, but then we see Commander Cobra and his driver, we see them hovering around, moving around in the car, trying to get Bendu. Now, Bendu is also with some guards, but then Moses Vanny knows that he's going to get her either today or another. So Ria says that Bendu is trying to stop the car. He said, okay, then quickly pass by so that I light in the corner somewhere. Then when she boards, like after all, boarding a taxi or something, we don't know where she was going to, then you come and pick me up too. So Ria does exactly as he was instructed. Now the guards, we see Bendu, as stubborn as she is, starts to argue with the guards. I'm sure she went inside, came out again 30 minutes time, and then she said she wanted to go somewhere else. So she was arguing with the guards, so the guards had to let her go alone. She stopped the car, but unfortunately it was Ria or Mrs. Vanny's car, a taxi, sorry. So she gets into it and asked the driver to take her to where she wanted to go to. But then, right at a point, Mrs. Vanny, the car stopped, Mrs. Vanny joined in, and hey, I think this, we take the Freytag's pyramid of plot development, this part is going to be the climax. Yes, this part is going to be the climax of it all. I don't know if I talked about I think I did talk about the exposition, but I don't know if I talked about the rising action. I think we'll give the rising action to somewhere chapter 4, chapter 5, and I think chapter 4, where something happens to alter the normal everyday life of the protagonist or the main character here. Bendu seeing Commander Cobra, and then he vanishing from her sight. That is going to be the rising action. So what she does next is to try to start a new focus or drive her attention towards a new agenda, getting him arrested. So that becomes the rising action. So now we are at the climax. So now you want to arrest me. Now I'm here. I'm in front of you. Arrest me face to face. You are looking for me. I found you. We are here. Now what next? So I think here I'm going to put the climax here. But if you have a different thought, why not? Now they meet face to face in a car, and it was all hell because Mrs. Vanny had already sniffed some white powder. We all know what that is. So he was a bit high. So he starts to lynch on her, beat her, punch her. He didn't even care that she was a female or woman. And it was going on and on and on. And whilst they were going through that, they started arguing. Mrs. Vanny was arguing with Bendu, and Bendu was also arguing with him, telling him what her life would have been if he hadn't taken her away or taken her with him to the camp or something like that, if only he had let her be. Now, Vanny is also saying that if he had the choice, it would have been different. This is not what he wanted to be, but he's here. Now, Bendu will still not give in to that because she feels that Mrs. Vanny had a choice, as always. So it became a back and forth between all of them. And then Mrs. Vanny, excuse me. So after the back and forth, Mrs. Vanny asked her to get down. He blindfolded her and then directs her or pressed her close to him, tightened his grip on her mouth and quickly tightened what he used to tie her mouth and all that, and quickly forced her in the direction of the lagoon. So they went close to the beach side of a lagoon, to the beach, and then now whilst they were there, Mrs. Benju was still blaming Mrs. Vanny for his own choices that he did that has affected a lot of lives or disrupted a lot of families. Now Mrs. Vanny says something here that the writer brings in. It says that I read from the book, I didn't want to be there in the goddamn bush anymore than you did, he said. I studied business administration at Liberian University. That is Moses Vanny talking. He studied business administration. Wanted to be a labor lawyer someday. Now the labor lawyer has it was influenced by his father's story, where his father was working. There was this thing that the employer did where people always credit things. So even at the end of the month or when their time was due for them to be paid, they still owe the employer. So they end up taking peanuts or taking nothing home at all. So looking at that, he says that here he's saying that he wanted to be a labor lawyer someday, not a fighter. Now, Vanny wipes his face and look at her. Not a killer. So that's not what he wanted to be. But now, if I'm to write about the character of Moses Vanny, surely I have to say that he is a fighter, or he was a fighter and a killer during the war. I would have to write that. But that wasn't what he wanted to be. So I ask you, is it the system that made him that way, or he decided to be that way because he had a choice? This is chapter 16 of Redemption Road. Here, Moses Vanny is telling us what he wanted to be. He had been to the university, a rebel leader, had been to the university, had learned all these things that he had to learn, but things that were taught from the content of from their book or something, or the courses he did, and he had to learn moral values and all that. But he ended up being a rebel leader, and he's telling us that he wanted to be a labor lawyer, to fight for the common Liberians after studying business administration. Now, the system has made him into a fighter or a killer. But Bendu will still not buy that because you always have a choice. How true is that? Do we always have a choice? I think we do. I think Bendu is right. We always have a choice. But if we want to find the easy way out of life, we end up stepping on toes or doing harm to the people around us, thinking that we wanted to be safe or we wanted to be saved. Now, so chapter 16 ends nicely, I think. Yes. We'll ask ourselves, was Bendu killed at the end, or was Moses Vanny killed? Because Moses Vanny had the gun pointed at Bendu at the beach side. And he says that I'm going to kill you right here and now, and nobody is going to question anyone about your death. You just be wasted and gone. So during the back and forth, Mrs. Vanny sniffs the powdery substance again, and then he goes high, starts to see things not really clearly or faintly, and then Bendu grabbed the opportunity, turn things around. The driver, someone asked, where was the driver? The driver was standing aside, even though he was worried it was getting that far because he thought the war was over. He didn't want any killing. He was also a fighter. And right now, he didn't want any killing or anything. So he wished his boss wouldn't go this far in killing this lady. But then couldn't do anything. Now, everything turned around. Bendu was now holding the gun because the master was weak. He couldn't see Wia out in sight. He was turning and turning, asking, "Where is Wia? What?" Then he said, "You've killed him." Bendu capitalized and said, "You've killed him because you're high. You've killed him." Said, "Me kill him? How?" So in that back and forth, Bendu got the opportunity. She was a fighter too, so she was also trained in his camp. So she had experience, took charge of the gun, and then happy to flee. She took away the keys to the car they were driving and told Ria to go and tie or attend to Mrs. Vine, tying his hand or something so that she could flee. So she was able to escape. There was a thin line between her and death at gunpoint, but she was able to flee. Now, that's a summary of chapter 15 and 16. We'll move to chapter 17 and 18 in the next video.